The number 2 ranked 2025 quarterback George MacIntyre left Tennessee this weekend, and it sounds like he's ready to end his recruitment. In this video, I'm bringing on Director of Recruiting Chad Simmons to go behind the scenes of McIntyre's recent comments. But first, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. There's some major developments happening, and we got you covered. I want you to be a part of it, so hit subscribe for me, please. Okay. Let's bring on Director of Recruiting Chad Simmons for more on this. Chad, leaving Tennessee yesterday, McIntyre had this to say about what could be next for him. Quote, "Probably will be my last couple of visits. I don't think I need to go on any junior days. I feel like I've seen everything." So Chad, I'm guessing a decision will likely come sometime after Bryce Underwood. So we're looking at like January, maybe early February, where George MacIntyre, the number 2 rated quarterback, could come off the board. Who do you think are the main teams involved here right now?
Yeah, obviously Tennessee in-state program has been there, countless times. Was back this weekend, got there Friday night, spent some time with coaches, the team, other recruits, stuff like that over the weekend. And then, of course, you have Alabama and LSU. He squeezed a visit in to UCLA as well this season. And they're on the list. I think FIU as well. He has connections there. Has been there for a game too. But I think the 3 we've always talked about remain the 3 to watch, and that's LSU, Alabama, and Tennessee, Josh.
Do you think that there's any chance, because he says it'll probably be my last couple of visits. Now, I think he could be done with visits altogether, but do you think there's any chance that he shows up on one of those teams' campuses between now and when he makes his final decision?
Yeah, there's definitely talk about him getting back to LSU this coming weekend for their final home game. I'm not sure if that's 100% locked in, but that's definitely been on his radar for some time. And if he does that, that will give him one last and a second look this season at LSU, putting him on campus in Baton Rouge, Tuscaloosa, and Knoxville twice this fall to get a good idea, fan base, offensive scheme, time with coaches. He talks to players a lot to get the full feel for what he would be going into at one of those programs. So I do think he could get back to LSU. And if he does, I think that's it for George before he makes that decision.
Yeah, and, LSU right now looking really good for Bryce Underwood, the number 1 quarterback in the country. Now the number 2 quarterback is also interested in LSU. All right, so we'll put that aside for now. I got another interesting quote that McIntyre said as he spoke to VolQuest before he left Tennessee when they were playing to Georgia. Quote, "I would just say the competitive nature and the winning trajectory of the school," McIntyre said. "I feel like home is where the heart is, so wherever my heart may stand in the next couple of months." Chad, let's break this down. How do you apply that quote to the teams that he's interested in right now?
Look, man, George is smart. He really chooses his words wisely. He knows what to say to kind of leave himself an out, but not give too much away to make it sound really good. Look, I think you can look at it, all 3 of the schools we talked about, LSU, Alabama, Tennessee, could all fit into that quote. You talk about winning trajectory. Obviously, I think, if it's not Georgia, you think about Alabama over the last decade of what they've done from winning national championships, SEC championships. LSU came off a national title in 2019. They had the Heisman frontrunner and Jaden Daniels this year. And then you have home where the heart is. I mean, he's very comfortable with the University of Tennessee. Heupel took them to 11 wins last year. On the football field, took them to a big-time bowl game and knocked off schools like Alabama and Florida and LSU in one season. So I think all 3 of those schools kind of fit into this. I think if you look at Georgia's, based on what I've been picking up from intel and sources, his best relationships might be with those at the University of Tennessee, with Heupel, Coach Halsley, the offensive coordinator, and just the people on the staff in that program. He's close also to Tommy Rees at Alabama, going back to his Alabama Notre Dame days. Joe Sloan at LSU. He sees the offensive fit, I think, in all 3 programs. So based on that quote you just said from George, I think all 3 schools can fit into that.
Man, yeah, I do. It's almost like an astrology reading. Like from wherever your perspective is, you could apply that to your team. Now, I have a pick-in for George MacIntyre to Alabama that I've had for a couple months now. And when I read it, I can certainly see how that would make me feel confident in my pick to Alabama. But if you're a Tennessee fan, read it. If you're an LSU fan, you can apply that to how you see it. So we're just going to have to see what happens down this stretch. Like you said, Chad, he could show up at LSU for another visit. He could show up on another campus. So we just got to see. But it sounds like we're about 2 months away from finding out where George MacIntyre is going to go. So let me know, comment section below, where do you guys think George MacIntyre is going to go? Me and Chad? Well, Chad, you haven't put a pick in yet, have you?
I have not. I'm not ready to
closing in on it.
I'm not ready to join the Josh Newberg train yet with Alabama just yet. Now, I think Bama is definitely a strong contender. They definitely have a lot of things playing in their favor to land George MacIntyre. I mean, the Reese, connection. He knows Ty Simpson. Has talked to him a lot about the team, what it's like day to day in Tuscaloosa. But again, I may slightly lean towards Tennessee coming off this last trip. Yeah. But again, I think an interesting thing too, man, Nico, redshirting this year likely now. Does that keep him on campus longer? Does that impact George's decision? Does he care about early playing time? I think there's a lot of things he's still trying to figure out. But I think Alabama and Tennessee may have a slight edge over LSU. But if he gets back to LSU, let's see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Lots of craziness still to come in this recruitment. Chad Simmons, thanks for dropping by the Inside Scoop and breaking down George MacIntyre's recruitment.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.